This week on Movie Time Machine, two dim-witted, inseparable friends hit the road for their 10-year high school reunion and concoct an elaborate lie about their lives in order to impress their classmates. Welcome to Romy and Michele's high school reunion.
Welcome to Movie Time Machine, your retro movie review podcast where we take movies from the past and relive them in the present. This week's movie, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, directed by David Merkin.
Yeah, isn't a merkin the thing they use in Game of Thrones a lot?
The Merkin, isn't that like a fake bush?
That's what I was in my
Right.
Artificial pubis.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
Thank you, Jamie.
I'm your Time Machine host, Chad, and I want to introduce you to my co-host first. As always, he's our living encyclopedia of movie knowledge and NES cart collector, James.
This, in fact, is a movie I had never seen, so excited to review it.
Go add it to your library. And next, he's our tech guru and groggily voice speaker, YouTube channel surfer, tech guru. It's Casey.
Hello.
Hello. You rang. And he's our sports reporter, Mr. Fish Wrap Factory himself, host of the Midwest Mountain Sports Report podcast, and Mr. Scaredy Pants. It's Jamie.
So I'm going to do my Romy voice, just like what Mira Sorvino sounds like when she speaks, in case I don't get the opportunity to do it later in the podcast.
You just got to do the Californians, man. The Californians.
But she's got a weird, almost Midwestern thing that she does with like her R's and O's.
You got that spot on.
Yeah.
That's like, I have goosebumps.
It's that Southern California, Los Angeles thing.
But they're from Tucson.
We had a celebrity.
Yeah, special guest.
Mira's here.
Mira Sorvino.
Mira Sorvino, daughter of Paul Sorvino.
Mira, are you sick a little bit? You sound a little bit deeper, but pretty dead on.
So there was a lot of punch at my reunion, and I think that maybe somebody had a cold.
Dude, this is too good, man. This is too good. All right, before we get into our movie of the week, sounds like we're going to have a lot of fun. Let's kick off with some casual conversation, some icebreakers. What's everyone been up to since our last pod? How about James? You go first.
So I've been trying to watch like more in the Halloween fall spirit for movies, kind of to go to sleep to. So yes, I started the Twilight series, as one would in that situation of scary movies. So I finished all the Twilight movies on Netflix, and I pretty much regretted it immediately, but I got too far and I needed to finish them. And then I started that Fear Street series, like Fear Street 1994, Fear Street 1978, and then I'm now in the middle of Fear Street 1666. The fun, not fun thing about these movies are, remember like in the 90s when Miramax movies came out and every character, like every actor that was in like one of the movies was in the next movie, if that makes sense. Like all of a sudden you saw, I don't know, Sarah Michelle Gellar in like 7 movies that were in Miramax, and then all of a sudden Freddie Prinze Jr. was in everything, and then like even like the side characters and She's All That were in 6 different movies. That's what's going on with Netflix right now. The whole cast of this series is like an array of people from like Stranger Things and Rim of the World and just other Netflix productions. Which, don't get me wrong, they're all great actors. It's just when you spot them, it's like, oh, that dude. Wait, what? And so, I don't know. It's kind of strange in that way when I see the different characters like all line up from other Netflix series. But that's what I've been watching.
Cool. Casey, what have you been up to besides catching another form of the plague?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's not COVID. We've been tested plenty of times. But, I haven't done a lot of entertainment things in the last few weeks. I've actually been out in the great outdoors. I spent 2 weekends ago, spent the whole weekend backpacking up in the Superior hiking trails and camping with my brother-in-laws and another friend of mine. And then this last weekend, my family and I took our little pop-up camper to a little outdoor campsite resort place up in Crosby, where all the bike trails and all that stuff is, but there's a nice little resort on a lake that we can go camp at and go walk down by the lake and kind of hang out and be outside. So been taking advantage of the nice cool fall before the snow comes and destroys us all.
Cool. Yeah, some of those pictures you sent looked awesome. So
Yeah, there's something to be said about a place. I mean, I love going up the North Shore and going to like Gooseberry Falls or Chattagooch and like park the car, go look at some beautiful things. But there's something to be said about seeing these places that you have to hike like 5 miles. You can't just drop in and get there. You have to put the work in to get to those views. But they definitely pay off. It was really cool up there.
all right on. Jamie, what have you been up to?
Casey, your pictures have been awesome. The ones you've been sending about your hikes, and we'll chat after this about Crosby because I've had that circled on my vacation to-do list. Just the biking, and there's a little there's a place with tiny cabins. We'll talk. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a cute little place, nice little town.
Yes, can't wait. As for me, James, I also have been watching Fear Street. I've just started though. I got like 30 minutes left in 1984. And I think what you're referring to, all the actors, they filmed all three of these movies back to back to back. So that might be why everyone seems so familiar.
No, and I get that they're reusing the cast to play different characters. Like that part I'm totally on board with. I'm just saying like in the first Fear Street Part 1 and the girl that gets killed off in the mall Scream style, like she's from Stranger Things and there's like just a couple other players where you see them, they have bit parts and they're just from other mainstream Netflix shows. Like where I don't know, they just all kind of like they don't connect in a storyline per se. It's just more or less that's how I'm recognizing them. So it shouldn't bother me as much. Like I said, like when you take a company like Miramax, they had their pack of 30 actors that they just plugged into every Miramax movie that came out for 5 years. And that's kind of what Netflix kind of feels like they're doing a little bit with their new players that they brought up through different Netflix shows. But yeah, no, I understand that part 1, part 2, and part 3, they all have generally the same actors playing different parts.
I feel that. Yeah, I recognized Robin right away too from Stranger Things in that
Yes,
opening
Robin. Yep,
sequence.
that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And lastly, I did get out and see the new Bond. It was the first movie I saw in theaters since 2019, I think. So that was a blast. I've seen every James Bond movie except for Spectre. And 15 minutes into the movie, I really wish I had seen Spectre before the movie. There's some essential context there. But yeah, No Time to Die was great. I thought it was a great way to finish the Daniel Craig run of Bond, and very curious to see where Bond goes next. Chad, what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? Well, I just wrapped up Squid Game, so that was really good. Definitely recommend that. I have been playing some video games. Hop back into Breath of the Wild, and so I kind of got my little like 30 minute game time in nightly as part of like our bedtime routine with the kids. And yeah, I finally beat that. I have some other things to go through, do some side quests, but yeah, the game is super fun. And um, yeah, going to jump back in and try to get all the collectibles and stuff. So great game. So that's what I've done. Now let's. I should never eat before doing these podcasts all the time. All right, let's dive into our pocket. Let's dive into our topic of the week: James's favorite film, Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. So none of us have seen this movie before. I think correct.
No, this is my
Correct.
first time.
This
Same.
is everyone's first time. So, all right, let's go through box office ratings for reviews, and we'll go into our thoughts and reviews and chit chat. So, box office, it was released on March 14th, 2007. It had a budget of, that's not right.
Missed it by that much.
By that much, by 10 years. It was released in 1997.
1997.
Yep, had a budget of 20 million and box office of 29.2 million. So, not a money maker, but it was a comedy. Ratings, reviews, IMDb has average of 6.2 out of 10. Metacritic is 59% score. Rotten Tomatoes, 73% critic and 65% audience score. So now I'm kind of judging by some people's reactions, and I already saw Jamie's letterbox review. So yeah, let's hop right in. Who wants to go first? Who
Spoilers.
wants to spoilers? Who wants to dive right in?
So let me set this up.
Yeah.
As we said, no one has seen this before. I just want to let everyone know what this movie was for me, and just curious if anyone has seen this. So we're all childs. We're children of the 90s and 80s. And for me, this movie came out 97. So I would have been like 8 or 9, 9, 10 when it came to Blockbuster. And I remember always seeing the front of that iconic cover with just them in the pink and the red dress and their red dresses, and just one, like, what is that? Those are two, and I, not quite prepubescent, but I'm like, huh, those are pretty girls, right? Yeah, those are pretty girls, and they're in hot outfits. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm gonna look at the back of this box and see what's going on. But I was also aware that it was like they're being goofy, and I just, never got the gumption to say I'm gonna rent that. But it was always this movie at Blockbuster that I, never saw. I was like, that's probably a comedy. It's probably for chicks, but man, they're really pretty. I wonder what that movie's all about. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Jamie, I have the same exact feeling. Like, I was trying to think, I'm like, how had I never seen this movie before? And just like you, I'm like, I can imagine the poster at Hollywood Video, and just like, I can know exactly what the cover looks like, and I know I grabbed it once or twice, but definitely it was like, no, I'm just gonna watch Drop Dead Fred one more time, or I'm gonna rent Twins again. Like, and I just would never go to it, as far as fully renting it. And maybe, I don't know, I can't remember that far back, if I had a, like you thinking, two pretty girls in the cover in short skirts, my mom will never let me rent this. I better find the one that has Freddy Krueger on the cover, and then I know at least there's a little nudity. I don't know.
Yeah, because what was this rated? Oh,
I think any movie.
Rated R.
I was gonna say any movie that references hand jobs is probably rated R.
Yes. Not PG.
Well, actually, I don't know. Wayne's World has a lot of dirty references, but I guess that, they were 5 years too late.
Yeah. Hey, Casey, what'd you think? Actually, should I preface like why we picked this, or I'll start off with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because when I told my wife that this is the movie we're reviewing, that was her first question was, well, why that movie? And I didn't have an answer. I just said, I don't know. I hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it.
Same.
I think the idea wasn't it just we all hadn't seen it, so we just went with it? Like, otherwise, you're not wrong. Anytime I was like, this is what we're reviewing. Why? Why are we reviewing this?
Yeah, I mean, it was just on that list that I put out there, and I think that I had saw it on like Hulu, and I was just like, okay, like I watched like a couple minutes of it. I was like, okay, I'm just curious. I've always kind of wanted to see it. I've heard, about it through like random, like, circles of friends kind of talking about it, and just, I don't know. I think the premise of a high school reunion, I think it's always, even though it may seem like old and overdone, as always a great setting for a good comedy, I think. Anything that's like a flashback, the high school, especially coming from. So it's like a 90s movies flashing back to like an 80s high school reunion. So yeah, that's kind of where we started. So I pulled you down this road to watch this, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not a great movie, but I enjoyed it. I mean, it had me laughing out loud.
See, I was
a few
convinced.
times, like,
I was convinced that it was like a cult classic, or it showed up on like top 25 comedies or something. Like, that's where you picked it from. Not, oh, I saw it on Hulu and it was free. So you got me good, Chad. You got me so good. Did you know that? Go ahead, Jamie.
No, I was just saying, I think we can add it though to like iconic movie posters, like you said, James, because I mean, this one is right. Like you see it, you know what movie it is.
Oh, 100%. So, and also, like, Chad, now that you mention it, like a movie taking place in the late 90s of a reunion that took place or a reunion from a high school class of the 80s. That's the second movie comedy of that year. Gross Point Blank also came out that year in 97.
Yeah.
Which if you never watched Gross Point Blank, I will gladly watch that again for sure over this.
Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't seen that in a very long time though.
But yeah, premise
But
is Hitman goes back to his high school reunion, and like I don't know, hilarity ensues because Dan Aykroyd is also Hitman and he's after him or
Oh.
his mark. So already, you know, it's going to be a knee slapper.
Right.
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry,
Spoilers.
sorry.
I've never
no
seen
knee
it.
slapping.
Yeah, he actually
but-
reprises his role from Tommy Boy.
Oh, great.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, so overall, I mean, yeah, I thought it was quite entertaining. It has lots of like quotable lines, I think, for a movie that I don't think is like, you know, it's not like a rewatchable comedy, I think, but yeah, I had a lot of fun actually
Yeah.
watching it. And it just kind of, I think there might be more fun and just kind of talking about the scene and the situations and like kind of maybe more like personal experiences or like what would you do or which group would you be part of. But yeah, I thought there's lots of great like one-liners and quotes in this movie.
That's the thing is the one-liners. Like I'd agree. Like when I go back and I look over the quotes, you know, to chat about it during the cast, I was thinking of, or even the ones you were sending earlier. I'm like, no, there was definitely funny lines in this movie, and I don't know what it was. If it was just, that they didn't land like correctly or what, like in the scene, because there's definitely funny one-liners all over the place that are it should be quotable. But then if we compare it or think of it as like the female Dumb and Dumber, like those two characters, like we kind of were talking about before, uh like Dumb and Dumber, I feel like I can quote any which way I want all the time, and this one I don't know if I'll necessarily be quoting or going out of my way to do so.
Yeah, there was some stuff like I had it kind of on just in the background today just to kind of refresh my mind because I watched it pretty much right after our last podcast was done. And yeah, there's some stuff I didn't catch that was like, oh, that could be really funny, but kind of like what you said too, James, like it didn't land like correctly or it just wasn't like, I don't know if it's just the way it cut. It was like with the one scene where they're like working out in the gym and she's talking about how like somebody she knew met somebody that worked for like Philip Morris or some shit like that. And she's like, "Oh yeah, where?" And it cuts to like the AA meeting.
Yeah,
And she's like, "Hi, my name is Romy, and I'm an alcoholic." Hey,
That was pretty funny. The one that got me the most was after the flashback where she sticks magnets onto what's her name, Lisa Kudrow's back.
yeah,
And she just says, "And what a bitch taking your hamburger. What was
yeah.
that?" I've never been a big Friends guy, but I like right in that moment I was like, "Oh my god, that's why everyone loves Friends, because Lisa Kudrow can just like throw in something like that." And like she was Phoebe in that moment, you know what I mean? Like
Wasn't
she
she
wasn't
kind of
Michelle.
Phoebe like in the entire movie?
yeah, that's exactly how I felt the whole time. Is I was like, man, and then it made me look it up, and yeah, Friends came before Phoebe, but then again, Ursula came and Mad About You came before Phoebe. So then I don't know. I like Lisa Kudrow now. She's definitely grown on me as an actress, like in different things she's in. But if that was like my first experience with her, like right in a row, I'd be like, and this is all she can do. But she's
Yeah,
nailing it.
yeah. Well, you, Casey.
Yeah, I think. I mean, obviously, I think they were trying to capitalize on that same character that Lisa Kudrow plays. But to me, this movie felt a lot like an SNL character movie, like a spin-off movie of
Mhm.
characters that I was already supposed to have known. And at times, it felt kind of weird. I was like, "Am I supposed to know who these girls are? And am I supposed to already think they're funny?" Because some of the like just the quirks of their characters, their weirdness, their oddities, they would hold them a bit for the camera, almost like letting you laugh for a minute. It's like I don't remember thinking these girls were funny or like knowing them from something else, because
Well,
it felt.
Casey.
What, did I miss something?
No, but I was reading something earlier before the pod, and part of the trivia is both Romy and Michelle characters were originated in a stage play called Ladies' Room. Lisa Kudrow reprises the role she played in it.
Oh, you're right, I totally saw that stage play, and that's what I'm missing.
I knew. I figured
I
you would.
forgot that I saw that
I forget.
stage play.
I figured
You're
you
right.
forgot when we saw that in that small town near Oklahoma.
Yeah, shoot, I forgot I was even there. What a crazy weekend. So anyways, I retract everything I said. I'm out. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, it felt, kind of like and I think you maybe put it in your notes here too, James, but it was like the female Dumb and Dumber is kind of what I got out of it too. Or a Night at the Roxbury. It felt kind of like the female Night at the Roxbury mixed with, the road trip aspect of Dumb and Dumber. Overall, I thought the first the first third felt kind of slow-ish and like didn't land super great with me. And there were bits that would make me chuckle and different one-liners that were good, but really I wasn't like super into it yet. But I thought it really picked up in the second half. I thought the second half was fantastic. I think it got really weird, and I like when things get weird. That whole like dream scene that it had me hook, line, and sinker thinking it was like a brain damage scene because she got hit by the limo.
Yeah.
I thought she actually got hit, but the dream started before that. So here I am thinking she's like, because when he like floats out of the top of the sunroof, that's when it first gets real weird. And it's like, oh, he just exited through the roof and he floated away. And then just the fact that the cars were inside the school, like it just got super goofy. And then it was even funnier then that it was just a dream and they're like, psych, let's redo that entire thing again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought the ending, it all worked out. And I thought the like how it kept getting like bigger and bigger, like, oh, homie shows up in a helicopter and yep, he is super rich and just going to like take you guys away. And like, you are going to have the picture perfect ending where, people, they come out and watch you fly away. Like how dumb was that? It was just so like silly and goofy and just like a happy ending. So I think, all the reviews and what Metacritic scores and all that had this like at a 60%, 75 maybe max. It's an above average comedy, and I think I agree. It's not the best thing I've ever seen. It's certainly not the worst. I don't know that I'd watch it again anytime soon, but I think slightly above 50%, maybe a 3 in Letterbox would probably be where I'd put this. I enjoyed watching it. I'm glad that I've seen it now, though. It was funny.
Casey, like I think you nailed it with the two sequences at the end, because I agree. That's when I like I kept on wanting it to end until like the last 45 minutes, half hour, where I was like, okay, now I'm actually interested in what's going to happen. But two things happened for me. One is like, I'm like, when I saw the cars, especially driving away, I'm like, okay, this has got to be a dream sequence. And I should have figured it out way sooner, like when Lisa Kudrow could recite how to make glue.
Yeah.
But like, I'm like, well, no, that's just a Phoebe thing. Like she would just know these things. And so I feel like I should have figured it out. And then when I saw the cars, I'm like, this has to be a dream sequence. And then I even was skeptical, thinking, well, but this is supposed to be kind of like an 80s throwback where this would happen in an 80s movie. This is like when in Rad, when the BMX bike went on the table at homecoming or prom or whatever. Like, this is exactly what they want from us. And then it did do the dream sequence. So I was like, okay, cool. And also, yes, I was thinking it had to be when she got hit by the limo, but nope, it was before then. But then the second sequence happens, and I keep thinking to myself, okay, where did Mira Sorvino hit her head? Because I'm thinking this is her version now of what happened, and it wasn't. That was like the real take, and I was like, that's when I was kind of, my mind was blown. Like, oh, they are going to end it like this. Okay, that's fine. And fun fact, Night at the Roxbury was actually 1998. So they probably said, wow, this made some cash. I bet we could make some too.
Let's do it again.
No, but see, Night at the Roxbury was an SNL bit. Like, it was a bit
I see
on
what
the
you're
show
saying.
first.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Whereas
but
these
was it a stage
characters-
play?
Well, maybe.
Just kidding.
SNL is on a stage, so I guess technically.
Touche, salesman. Touche.
Yeah, talking about the ending, though, how about that dance routine at the end? To time after time. Was that
had
awesome?
me just giggling because it was like well
Again.
done but silly.
Dream
But-
sequence.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that
Like,
was
ev-
one, like, who didn't call it, though, when they first danced to Time After Time, like, in the past? And I was like, oh, that's going to be the end of the movie. They're dancing together at the reunion. What I did not expect was Sandy Frank to come in there and make it a three-way dance. That was fantastic.
For sure. Or as you would know him, Jamie, from GoldenEye, Boris.
Boris Grishenko. Give me the password, Natalia.
Jamie, really quick while I'm thinking of it, on those the movies we're watching, Fear Fear Street. The soundtrack is amazing, by the way.
Agreed. Yeah,
For
it's very
the
good.
for the '90s one and then the '80s one so far, yeah, it was pretty good. Sorry, I had something I forgot to mention earlier. Okay, back
Well,
to Romy and Michelle.
well, and this one opens with a sweet soundtrack too. I mean, I'm a No Doubt fan, so we get Just a Girl right out of the
Oh
gate
yeah.
with the little opening credits, and I was like, all
How do
right.
they afford
Yeah.
that apartment across from the beach?
I know. I was like,
Right, no,
that
none
is
of
not
them,
what
they don't
Venice
work.
looks like now.
Like, I'm a cashier and you're unemployed. Like,
Right.
I'm like, yes, please. Like, where can I find these sweet places? I mean, I guess if I made my own clothes, maybe I would save a little bit of money. But when I buy clothes, let's be honest, I buy one of the every color of the thing I like, and that's what I wear for 10 years.
Right. I always get made fun of for that, James. As well, so
You're in good company.
yep. Yeah, so back to that dream sequence though. I love like when Sandy Franks shows up and he's like, come with, after he hits Lisa Kudrow, and he's like, come with me, don't worry, I have boxes of Kleenex in my car.
Oh yes.
Like he's
So-
it's like, okay, is that like saying that, oh yeah, he's lots the Kleenex? I don't know, it's kind of weird. But towards the end too, when like not the dream sequence, but when they're about ready to get into the helicopter, I think, and Lisa Kudrow like goes up and hugs Sandy Frank, and she's like, "Oh, thank you for not bringing your big green notebook this time."
yeah. It's just- I don't know. God, that you're right. It is one big like SNL bit. Like if I think of it like that, then it's honestly not as bad for me. Like I'm like, okay, I can get in that mindset like of like Night of the Roxbury. Will there be funny parts? Sure. Is it going to be the greatest movie of all time? No. I suppose I shouldn't have had that expectation walking into this. My bad.
Oh, sorry.
Do you guys want to know how much thought though they actually put into the dream sequence? This was a incredible Easter egg. I couldn't even believe they snuck in there. Are you ready for this? So, in the flashback when Christy sticks the magnets on Michelle's back, it's a banana and a carrot. And if you look at the fake prom, the dream prom, the balloons are carrots and bananas. Like I couldn't believe I noticed that. I was like, wait a second, no
Wait,
way.
what?
What?
Yeah, watch it back. There's balloons. There's like big orange balloons and big yellow balloons. It's a banana and a carrot. And I was like, that. Why would you put so much thought into that? That's like
Oh, that's
such an
awesome.
unnecessary callback. But I
That's
appreciated it.
awesome.
I would just like to the behind the scenes or the director's commentary of this, like where he's the one who's adamant. He's like, it's hilarious. He's like, but yeah, that took like 4 days of shooting, like or for us to set up, and he's like the only one that noticed, and until you, Jamie, of course.
Hey, just really quick too on like reasons for picking this. It wasn't just because it was free on Hulu, but I was looking at the director's credit, and one thing that stuck out to me, he was Merkin was creator, executive producer, writer, director, and actor in Get a Life, the early '90s comedy with I think Chris Elliott. You guys remember that at all? I think it was on Fox.
I saw that the director did that. I didn't know what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, and like he did some writing on Gary Shandling's show, Tracy Ullman's show.
I saw like a producer on The Simpsons or something.
Yeah, did the Simpsons movie, I think, too, as well. But yeah, so had a little bit of cred there. Like Gary Shandling's show and Tracy Ullman's show. I mean, it's really dating me, but yeah. Even did some writing on Newhart, looks like. So
Did you guys do you guys look at my notes on the doc? And one of my questions was, why do I like Janine Garofalo so much? She's the same in every movie. And then, is the character Daria based on her likeness? Thoughts?
I don't know. I have the same feelings too about Janine Garofalo, because I was like, what do I like? What do I remember her from? I was like, I don't, I don't remember like why I love her so much, kind of thing. I kind of forgot about her. But yeah, she had like her stand-up kind of comedy career, and then she had like a short run on SNL, and she was in
Wet
like
Hot
a bunch
American
of movies here
Summer.
and there. So
Yeah, she just plays like just kind of like the part she played as Heather. Like she just plays like little bit parts and just kind
yeah,
of is herself. But I don't know. I always find her very enjoyable to me. So
yeah.
also, oh sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like she was pretty active as an activist too. I think so. Like for sure, like late '90s, really aughts. So,
Well, and I
yeah,
was
that's
gonna
part
ask
of it too.
Chad, in one of your notes, you wanted to talk about high school stuff. Did your high school have a smoking area?
Oh yeah, yeah. I gotta tell you about the smoking area. So we did have a smoking area, and at first it used to be kind of out in front of the school. So like you'd walk outside after lunch, then like where our pool was, you'd walk around the side of that building. We'd just stand there and smoke. But the weird thing is that that's where like all the teachers would drive by when they were leaving and coming back from lunch too. So so the school didn't want anybody from the city or any of the other teachers to see us smoking out front. So we had these buildings in the back of the school that they shared with the technical college. So like that's where a lot of our homerooms were at that time, because the school was like kind of in this midst of being remodeled and expanded at the time. So at the back of one of the buildings they had like a white rectangle like chalked into the ground, and that was our smoking box.
Where you have to stand.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my next question was, okay, so you're talking like, at first I was thinking you were like, you and the other students had a designated smoking area that you like, oh, the cool kids went under the bleachers and smoked. And no, you're saying no, it was such a habit for everybody and the school wasn't going to stop anybody. So they told you guys, hey, can you please do it over here and respect the city situation?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes. Yeah. So
Um,
we'd go back there during lunch and play hack and smoke cigarettes.
well, as a non-smoker for my life, I don't think there was a smoking area at my high school, but like now I want to phone a friend and ask if like there was a spot for the cool kids to go that I just was ignorant to, which is a very good possibility. So I don't know.
I got since we're talking about cool kids, should we hop into some of these questions, or you guys want to talk about any other parts or scenes in the movie?
Just as far as well, one Jamie, if you noticed on the poster, that the names like for Lisa Kudrow and Mira Sorvino actually line up with like underneath them. That's a problem I have. Where on posters, like the title character's
Oh,
name is
that
under a
shit
different
drives me
person.
crazy.
I'm like, what year is this that we can't figure this out? And like, do you think Lisa Kudrow's like, oh no, like my name needs to be first? Like, or that's fine. Then reverse the image. Like, I
Right.
don't care. It's not that hard.
Right.
The next thing I had was also Mira Sorvino. After watching this movie, would you guys have known that she is an Oscar-winning actress?
For what?
The Mighty Aphrodite. It was a Woody Allen film. I never seen it.
Oh
I,
yeah, I've heard. Okay, I've heard good things. That
and
she's awesome in it.
it was actually after you guys pointed out that she's Paul Sorvino's daughter that I was like, what? How did I not know this? I actually went on YouTube and I found like it was a clip, and that's the only reason I know about the Oscar thing is because it had her Oscar win speech, and they panned to her dad, and her dad just loses it, like just starts bawling, like because he's so happy. So which I was like, that's a precious moment right
No.
there. But otherwise, before we go into the norms, I just had also other comedies that came out that year that I'm thinking this is probably the reason why I didn't see this movie because there was other comedies. So like this is the time of Chris Farley boys. So like this is like Beverly Hills Ninja. So that one made the cut. Austin Powers, Liar Liar, Men in Black, Vegas Vacation, As Good as It Gets, The Full Monty, Nothing to Lose. So yeah, so those are just a few of the comedies that came out at the same time. But otherwise, yeah, let's go into high school norms.
High school norms. So first, if you were to be in any of the groups, so in the film they talk about there's Group A, which is the cheerleaders and jocks, essentially. Then you have B, listed as the drama crowd, and C, we had the honor students and rejects, and then rounded out with the loner group. So let's just go around. I can start this one off. Or Casey, I see you're typing. Do you wanna go first?
Oh, I'm not typing, but I'll
Oh, okay. You just
I'll
moved your
spit
cursor.
it. I'll spit it straight
Oh,
up.
spit.
I was a little bit of B and a little bit of C. I was in some theater things. I was in band and choir, so I I was friends with a lot of those people. We didn't really have cheerleaders in our school, but like if you want to like classify those as the you know hot popular girls or whatever, there were certain crews similar to A, I suppose, in our high school.
So more of like the plastics.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. I always thought my graduating class, and maybe it's because I was in it, but I thought we were all like pretty, A, B, and C blended a lot. There was a lot of overlap. So like, I don't know. I always thought that my graduating class was pretty meshed, and sure, those little groups did exist, but um, I don't know. There was nothing like there was no groups fighting or looking down upon other groups. Really, it was mostly separated by people's interests, I guess. So it was less about cheerleaders, jocks, but it was like those types of athletes in those sports would hang out. The theater kids would hang out, and obviously there'd be some overlap. Because there'd be theater kids in certain athletics as well. So there was just kind of a natural groups of groups, smaller pods of people would, group together with bigger ones and yada yada.
Yeah,
Enough about my high school.
I'd say Casey. Mine was very similar. I would say I was more B drama and maybe the loner, but I think all the groups kind of mesh together as well. Were there douchebags in school? Sure, absolutely there were, but in that smaller group of like I don't know, let's say it was a football player, like then there was like his friends, like three of the other guys in that group of four were like kick ass, you know what I mean? So it just was always hit or miss, I guess. But generally, I don't feel like there was any real clicks that like a lot of people couldn't like go from one to the other and it wouldn't work or anything like that. So yeah, that was my experience, I guess.
Did you guys go to like rural or like more kind of like metro kind of
Rural.
suburb? Like,
I was
Suburb.
rural.
hmm.
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know. Yeah, it was like yeah,
rural.
more suburb, um, like south of Minneapolis.
But yeah, what about you, Jamie?
So the thing you have to understand first of all, so I went to high school in Colorado, and I went to an all boys Catholic high school in the suburbs. So it was a little bit different, but I would say kind of like James and Casey, it was pretty mixed as far as the groups. Like I played rugby my junior and senior year, but I wouldn't say that I was a jock. I was JV. I wasn't a starter, but it was something to do, get some fitness. But I would say if I had to pick, I would probably be in the loner group. Like I had my core friends, but we yeah, loner if I had to say it. We kind of hung out with each other, played a lot of Halo, smoked some weed. Our prom experiences were mixed and fraught as well. But um there was something I was going to say. Yeah, I couldn't help but think of there's this really great episode of 30 Rock where Tina Fey, who's Liz Lemon, she goes back to her high school reunion, and she's like, "Oh, I hate high school. Everyone was such a jerk and they were so mean." But I was the cool funny person. And then she goes back and nobody talks to her, and she realizes, has anyone seen this episode where she
No, I haven't.
realizes that she was the total asshole?
Yeah, I've seen
Oh
that
yeah, I
episode.
saw it. It was brilliant.
Oh, it's so funny. And I had a couple moments of that too, where like, oh man, I was kind of a dick to a couple kids, and there's some things I would take. I wasn't a bully, but it's like Janine Garofalo says in the movie, like someone was brutal to somebody else in high school. And there were a couple of moments where I was like, ah, shit, that was not cool. I wish I would have done things differently there.
Has anybody actually gone to their high school reunions? Like I have. I personally have not.
That was my next question for you guys.
I was gonna say a couple of my couple friends did go to like the 10 year, and when asking like, "Hey, how was it?" They said generally it was okay, but there were a couple like classic movie stereotypes that happened, like where in my like just the way I heard it, and I remember the person, like one of the girls who I would consider one of the like a smarter, quieter girl came up to one of my buddies and was just kind of a little bit more drunk and was like, "You probably don't even remember my name," and it was just kind of like little back and forth stuff like that, where I was just like, That's why I didn't want to go.
Yeah, I'm good.
And also, like, I completely forgot all about it until they were like, "Hey, are you coming with?" Or I'm like, "I can't," and I totally spaced it. But yeah, but yeah, it just sounded like these stereotypes that I'm like, God, I would love to observe from a distance, but I definitely don't want to be a part of it.
Just go in, just make up a fake name. Like, no, I always got mistaken for Chad. Yeah, no, I'm
I'm
Jack.
Buck Melanoma, Molly Russell's wart.
So, Chad, have you not gone to your high school reunion either?
No, I think last year, what would have been 25 last year? Yeah, I haven't gone. I mean, I can hardly remember anyone I went to high school with, but they would. I know, like I remember, like it was like the 5, the 10, and like the 15. They were all at one of the 500 bars that are in Faribault. I don't know. It just seemed like pretty lame. That's the last place I want to go if I want to go to a high school reunion. But
I,
I haven't had any like.
Chad, hold on. So do you actually know? Are you just guessing, or do you know that your high school did a 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 year?
Yeah,
What the hell?
yeah.
Okay.
I would just because I would see stuff like on when I still had Facebook. I would see stuff on like somebody I went to high school with. I'd be friends with, and they'd be sharing stuff. But
What's the point of a 5 year? Woo! We all got done
right,
with college.
right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Casey, did you go to yours?
No, I haven't been to any of mine. I would consider it, but I just have a really bad memory. So it's like I'd go there and just feel so bad because people would maybe have memories with me and I would just totally not remember half the crap they'd be saying. Be like, oh, yeah, yeah, totally. Cool. But
I
it
think
wouldn't be
part of
that
me
bad.
has
I'm still
that.
friends with some of my high school friends. Like, I have a few of them still as friends. So if we all went together, maybe it wouldn't be so bad.
Part of me has that fear that, like, I think if I would go to something like that, like, and then like you, Casey, like, I would just have a bad memory of, like, I'd remember the face, can't figure the name, and then followed by them being like, "Hey, what's your number? We should hang sometime." And I'm like, "Ugh." If I wanted to do that, I probably would have connected before this 25-year
Right.
reunion. Like, I'm good, man.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah. If we made it this long, I think the writing's on the wall. Like,
Like, because like I don't even like. Well, we don't call it Facebook anymore, right? It's Meta.
oh God.
But like, I'm just thinking, like somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, you never accepted my friend request," and I'm like, "I don't have Facebook." Like, what are you talking about? And so I don't know. It's just like little things like that where I'm like, "This is awkward." So I don't know if you want to go. I don't know if you want to go. Like, I just wouldn't take it too seriously. I think I'm worried about the people that do take it seriously, I guess.
Here's an important question though, because I do not have this problem. Like, I'm a Minnesota transplant, and I know one person from high school who went to the same college as me. So he's the only guy that I saw, other than my like core group of friends who I would see occasionally when I would go home to Denver, or visit them in college. But I never run into anybody in the real world that I went to high school with. Do you guys like, bump into people and you're like, oh, that's you, and say hey or quickly turn the other way?
I
Because
had
this
that
does not
actually
happen.
happen once. I went to high school 2 hours out of the cities here, but I went to Bauhaus and ran into a dude I graduated with, and we actually, chatted for a bit. It was actually cool to reconnect and say what up. So it's happened once, and it was a positive experience.
Yeah, I have the fortunate situation where I work in the same city I went to high school in currently. So yes, I see it quite often. I'd see at least once every 3 months I run into one or two people from high school, and typically it hasn't been a conversation either. Like, we both make eyes, we recognize that, hey, we had the same fourth grade teacher, and then we move on. So it hasn't been super awkward. I feel like maybe it's happened once in the last like 5 years that I've seen that happen, but I do recognize people. Like I said, a few times every couple months.
That's awesome. I remember there was like a short stint in time where I moved back to Faribault for like a couple years, and I was driving cab down there to make some extra cash. So which meant like working Friday and Saturday nights, kind of. And so I would randomly like pick up people from the bars and that I went to high school with, and like they had absolutely no fucking clue who I was. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna pretend like I don't know them either. It's better that way. But
Chad, I feel like that's when you like make up your own persona. Like, you're wearing like a bowler hat and you're like, "Hey, where you going?"
yeah.
Like, just like, and they're like, do you know where 17th and 4th are?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we're on the way." And just like making up garbage. God, that'd be great. I totally want to play that game. It's like Cash Cab.
Yeah. We should go to each other's like high school reunion, right? So like
Oh, now we're talking.
It's me,
it's
Casey. This is what I look like when I'm shaved. I'm assuming you had a beard since middle school, Case.
Always, always.
Did we beat this dead horse? Does anybody want to pick out like a favorite quote or anything or anything else we want to talk about?
Do you want to talk
Mm.
about like Shib or Deutsch?
Schibber Deutsch.
I don't know. Whatever you guys are texting about.
Did you go in on Shib, Casey?
Yeah, I've got a crap load. I mostly did it because I wanted to be a millionaire in something. And when I purchased some, I think my initial purchase was $20 got me like 2.5 million sheep. So like that's all I originally bought in for, and I've attained more since then. But yeah, I'm all in. Let's go to the moon. It's not a serious thing. I don't like obviously invest serious money into these crappy dog based cryptocurrencies, but it's kind of like my gambling money. So there's some in there. It's fun.
You know what I do? I just do like kind of like bi-weekly like small amounts, So it's like I don't really miss it, but like $10 here, maybe
Right,
$15 here,
right.
kind of, and that kind of really adds up over time. So because it fluctuates so much. I mean,
Last thing I wanted to maybe discuss, like any particular fall or horror movies that anybody has watched. I know I did kind of the recap that I'd watched Fear Street, but has anybody else watched anything else this holiday season, if you will?
no, I haven't.
Oh, okay. I was like a dead silence. All right, guys, I'll go again.
All right, good night.
I figured just Jamie would be on top of his horror movie game this time of year.
Jamie, how did your Halloween movie every day of October? How's that going?
Oh,
I
it's
know
so
you try to
bad.
do that every year. You try to do that.
I do. I never get to 31. I'm only at, I think, 2 this year. It'll be 3 after I finish Fear Street, but I watched the original It. I watched the remake part 1, and I'm going to finish the remake part 2. I've seen them before, but for some reason I was really in a Stephen King mood. But I'm going to watch Halloween. I really want to watch that this week, the original. And oh, there was one more. Oh, so I added Hulu because this was on there and I didn't want to pay for the rental, and I already had Disney Plus. So I was like, oh, the bundle's like just a couple bucks more. I'll just do that. And they have the Twilight Zone. So that's where the Twilight Zone went. It went from Netflix to Hulu. So
Oh,
I got that in
nice.
my queue. I'm going to watch some
Nice.
old Rod Serling. Yeah.
Dude, I love the Twilight Zone.
So good.
Jamie, what is your like favorite scary movie?
What's your favorite scary?
Or like scariest scary movie? Like for me, I like feel like Event Horizon or In the Mouth of Madness, something like that.
Those are I still haven't seen In the Mouth of Madness. Event Horizon is great. That one's more fun to me. The Exorcist always scares the shit out of me. That one's like, I'm not excited to watch this, but if I really want to be scared, I'll watch The Exorcist. My favorite is The Shining. Like we've done that one on the show, and I'll probably watch that again. That one's just like, comfort food. I love The Shining.
Yeah, that movie gets better each time I see it.
Did anybody
Always.
watch Doctor Sleep?
I haven't seen it yet.
I really enjoyed Doctor Sleep, and I enjoyed it. I didn't read the book The Shining, but it's all well known that the movie, like Stephen King, hates. And this movie, the director tried to do like a happy compromise, like to make everybody happy. So it's really cool how they incorporate The Shining into this movie. But I guess like he tried to make it as fluid as he could, so that it made sense with the two books being, one is a sequel of the other. So I don't know. I think it's definitely worth a watch, and it definitely has this throwback feel of The Shining at it. So it's pretty cool.
That's been on my list for forever. I read the book, and the book, weirdly, when I read it, it never felt like a sequel to The Shining. I mean, the main character is Daniel Torrance, but for me, that was like it. I was like, it could be its own thing, which I actually didn't mind. I thought it was pretty interesting and pretty fun. The group of vampires that travels the U.S. in their motorhomes. He's just got these cool concepts that he weaves into these. But I don't know how he has this many ideas. It's like Stephen King is a national treasure. I love that guy.
What's the story about the vampires living in What's this? Travel across the country and
Yeah, so it's like this group of people who can shine. And James, correct me if I'm wrong here, but they're not quite alive, but they're not quite dead. That's right, right?
Yeah, that's accurate to the movie. Like again, I don't know anything about the book, but in the movie, yes, that's how I would depict them.
Yeah, and that's kind of how they move around undetected. Is they all have mobile homes, so they'll go to like mobile home parks and they'll feast on children because children shine the hardest or the fiercest. So they'll like they'll go to Tempe, grab a bunch of kids in Tempe, like get their fuel for the month, and then drive to Sacramento or whatever, and just kind of make their way across the nation, like eating kids who shine. And
Right.
yeah,
Like Rebecca Ferguson in the movie's character. She's also in Dune currently. She plays a character called Rose the Hat, and Rose has the ability to seek out basically these people that can shine. And so that's how they know where to go to take basically these kids' energy or soul so they can live longer. And yeah, it's like he described it. It's a motorhome RV
yeah, I this has
park of
really piqued
vampires.
my interest now more than ever.
Uh,
But
de- Definitely give it a whirl. Like
yeah,
it is fun. And then Jamie, though, yeah, you're not wrong. In the movie, I remember halfway getting through the movie and me thinking, man, the book or the movie for The Shining must be so much different than the book if this is like the sequel. Because you're right, it didn't feel the same. It felt like its own thing until about halfway through the movie when you start seeing adopted traits or different sequences or scenes, and then it starts to get really really fun.
mm.
yeah. And my understanding of that is Stephen King, I mean, if you've read his books, some of them they're 1,000 pages. He has a hard time putting his characters down, so to speak. So he really wanted to finish Danny's story as he said it. So that's kind of why it feels a
Mm.
little different.
Crazy.
Got it.
I haven't watched this yet, but I've been watching to or wanting to. It's been on my queue, my list. Is The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It is back on HBO Max, and
Oh, I noticed that.
yeah, Jamie and I we've gone through. We've done Conjuring 1 and 2 as a Monster Closet pod, so I want to actually watch this one. I'm really kind of into this lore a little bit now, so yeah, that one's on my list. Hopefully, I can get that under
Yeah,
my belt here soon.
a little bit more silly, I guess. When the only reason I added fall movies opposed to horror movies because whenever it's like this weather outside, I always think of M. Night Shyamalan movies, like because he always takes like it seems like they take place in the fall all the time, like Signs and The Sixth Sense and The Village, and like just the leaves, the ambience, and the feel of like how they're shot, like make me think of fall. Plus, the music is it's really beautiful. So I
Hey,
always have to watch those movies.
quick question on M Night. Like, what are your feelings on him? I feel like M Night gets like trashed, maybe like
I feel like the
beyond.
guy gets no play anymore, which is sad to me. And I
Yeah,
feel like maybe he's building up his bankroll again through. I haven't watched his new movie like Old. I didn't watch his that other thing on Apple TV that he came out with. Um, but I feel like late '90s or early aughts. Like, did I say that right, Chad? You say it all the time, and I feel like I don't know how to say
odds. Yeah,
aughts. Cool. Um, like everybody's like, oh, like he has this happen and then he has a twist, that's his thing. And I'm like, okay, fine, he has twists, but can we get on board that like he's a good writer and develops really great characters? And I think like his movies are, I think they're well done. They can almost be made as stage plays sometimes. So I don't know, when I like the ones I just said, like Signs, Sixth Sense, The Village. It's been a while since I've seen Unbreakable, but I remember enjoying that when it was in theaters. Um, I like all those movies for him, so I think he's great. I just think everybody else kind of just poos on him for whatever reason, and I don't get it.
yeah. I don't either because I've liked. I think I've liked everything I've seen of his. So,
Like
especially
even
like
the
I just remember The Village the most. Like, cause I remember going to that like on opening night and like I really enjoyed that movie, and then like leaving and like just hearing everyone like shit on it like afterwards. I'm just like, did we go to the same movie? Like, I don't know.
well, and I feel like it's like that part of I don't know. like everybody now, like they know, oh, like the Sixth Sense blew their mind because this happened and we weren't expecting it. And then now when the twists are happening, like it's not as mind blowing. So it's just like our movies when we say like they get it too built up. Like I feel like that's his thing. Is his reputation is too built up, and
Yeah.
now it's almost to the point where like it's so low that maybe that's why he's coming back. Like I hate to say it like that because I've always enjoyed his movies
Yeah.
and James Newton Howard scoring all of his movies is really beautiful and I love it. Even the movie like Lady in the Water, not my favorite, but if I take it like it's a children's book, then I'm behind it.
Mm.
Did I think it was extremely scary or a crazy twist or blah blah blah?
Yeah.
No, it's just an enjoyable story. He's a good storyteller.
Yeah. True that.
But I think the reason people didn't like the twist in the village was because it wasn't super believable. Like, oh, you're this isolated village in the middle of the country that no one has found yet. But when you run a little bit away from the property, there's a road.
Mm.
I mean, you just had to hike 5 miles somewhere to see somewhere beautiful. What if that was all covered and said that was
you know how
private
many
property?
people I
And
saw plenty
Yeah.
of people.
yeah, because it wasn't private property. I don't know. The only thing I don't get behind with the village is I'm like, wait, so did all of y'all sleep with each other to make this village of people? Like, is everybody incestually related?
I don't know. It just makes me think of. It just made me think of like Jim Jones, um, and his little cult thing. I mean,
yeah, but
Who's
see,
Jim
that
Jones?
was like on an
Jim
island.
Jones, like
They had to like leave the country for that to work.
Well, I know, but I mean,
That's what I'm
if
saying.
you can go to like a rural part of the country and you could do that. I mean, look at all these fucking weird
yeah, but like the
like,
authorities check in, man. Like people, you're not gonna be isolated completely. Like you're not gonna have complete isolation. I don't think, in my
yeah,
opinion.
if you let's say if you're like weird rich people that have too much money and you want to start some like weird kind of like secret society, you just have a bunch of private property, right? I mean, I don't know.
Sure, but then it would be on record that you were a rich person with that much property, and people would be seeing planes fly overhead. They would see buildings.
Yeah,
Like
but
people
like
would be
rich people too,
curious.
like sex traffic people, and I mean, there's so many
Yeah,
people that
sure,
are like
sure.
that disappear, and I don't.
Yeah, but that's like one McMansion. I don't know.
Yeah, like what about those
Maybe
3
you're
kids
right.
from the Blair Witch? Did we ever find them?
I'm just saying that it's not as unbelievable as I think you think it would be. So
Oh, mass murderer, cult leader, political activist, Christian Marxist. Is this the Kool-Aid guy and the
yeah,
Adidas? Or
Jim Jones party mix.
copy that. All right, I got it.
Yeah, like a bunch of like it was like representatives or something that went down to try to like negotiate, and I think to get people out of there. Then as they were leaving, like they started shooting, and a bunch of people were shot as they're leaving, and then he had them all drink the cyanide laced Kool-Aid because they said that they're all coming for them. So there's plenty of good documentaries out there on it, but yeah, it's kind of some crazy shit.
It's creepy. It's
Yeah.
awful. It's creepy.
On that happy note.
Jamie, did you see what I wrote in the doc?
Oh no, hold on.
It's right next to your name.
Oh, yeah, so we don't have Jim Jones punch, but we have some nice punch that Sandy Frink ordered from the south of France. So, do you guys want to go mix a drink? Maybe hang out for a little bit?
Dude, it's too good. It's too good.
That's a way happier way to end this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were
Sorry.
reviewing a movie called Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion.
But this was the spooky
spooky
edition.
edition. Yes. Happy Halloween.
Oh, Treehouse of Horror.
God. Downers. Okay, should we just wrap it up?
Yeah,
Cool.
like a mummy.
Yeah, like a mummy. All right, thank you for listening to this episode of Movie Time Machine. Just to let you know, new episodes of Movie Time Machine drop on Fridays. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback you want to add to the pod, send them to movietimemachinepod@gmail.com, or you can also DM us send us your DMs on Twitter at Movie Machine Pod. Thank you for listening, and catch you next time. Bye.
The cowboy
Bye.
was Justin Theroux. That's hilarious. See ya.